Hey there, Steelers Nation. Buckle up because we got a lot to get into today. The black and gold are fresh off that gritty win against the Colts. And while the final score looks great on paper, anyone who watched knows that game told two very different stories. One about a defense that stepped up when it mattered, and another about an offense that, let's just say, still hasn't quite found its rhythm. Sure, a win is a win, but this one left a few too many question marks hanging in the air. Let's start with the basics. Pittsburgh came out of Acrisure Stadium with a 27-20 victory. That's a solid result, especially against a team that can put up points when it gets rolling. But when you start peeling back the layers, you can't help but notice that the offense, once again, felt like it was running in mud. There were moments where things clicked, but most of the afternoon, it looked like they were fighting themselves more than they were fighting the Colts defense. Now, before diving too deep into the problems, let's give some credit where it's due. The defense absolutely set the tone. They created turnovers, they flipped the field, and every time the offense needed a boost, the defense handed them a golden opportunity. 3 straight takeaways, 3 straight touchdowns. That's the kind of efficiency you want to see from a winning football team. It's not flashy, but it's the mark of a squad that knows how to capitalize. When you get the ball at midfield or inside the red zone because your defense just ripped it away, you have to finish those drives, and the Steelers did. That's a big deal. The first of those came off a forced fumble and recovery near midfield. The offense marched 56 yards, capping it off with a short touchdown run by Jaylen Warren. Simple, effective, no nonsense. The next possession, an interception set them up inside the Colts' 14-yard line. You cannot squander that kind of field position. And to their credit, they didn't. Aaron Rodgers zipped a 12-yard bullet to Pat Freiermuth for 6. Then early in the fourth quarter, déjà vu. Another interception, another short field, another 56-yard drive, and another Warren touchdown. It's not the prettiest brand of football, but it's the kind that wins you games in November. But once you move past those specific sequences, things start to look a lot less encouraging. Let's talk about the running game, or what was supposed to be a running game. 23 total carries for 38 yards. That's it. That's a 1.7 average. You can't sugarcoat that. At that point, you're almost better off not even calling running plays. Jaylen Warren, who has been the spark plug all season, ended up with 16 carries for 31 yards. That's just under 2 yards per attempt. 2 touchdowns or not, that kind of production isn't going to cut it in the long run. And it's not like they made up for it through the air, either. Warren had 2 catches for negative yardage. -2. That's almost impressive in the wrong way. The passing game wasn't much better. Rodgers' stat line won't look awful at first glance, but if you actually watched it, you saw a quarterback who never really got comfortable. Part of that was protection. The pocket collapsed way too often, and even when it didn't, routes took too long to develop. The Colts defense wasn't doing anything revolutionary. They were just disciplined, and that was enough to throw the Steelers off their rhythm. Kenny Gainwell chipped in with 4 catches for 35 yards, and he did have a nice 16-yard burst on one of them. But that was about the only highlight from the backfield in the passing game. Then there's the wide receiver situation, which continues to be his sore spot. You can tell Rodgers trusts DK Metcalf, or at least he used to, but for whatever reason, that connection was almost non-existent on Sunday. Metcalf was targeted only 4 times, caught 2 passes for 6 yards, and had a drop that would make any coach pull their hair out. 6 yards total. That's a career-low kind of performance, and the fact that the Colts were able to scheme Rodgers away from his favorite target should worry everyone. It wasn't like DK was being double-teamed all game. Rodgers just wasn't pulling the trigger in his direction. Whether that's play calling, execution, or just hesitation, something's off there. Calvin Austin actually led the team in receiving, with 5 catches on 6 targets for 56 yards. It's nice to see him getting involved, but that's hardly game-breaking production. It's the kind of stat line that says efficient, not explosive. You can't hang your hat on that when your offense is trying to find an identity. There's been some talk that maybe the Steelers should go out and get another receiver before the trade deadline, and honestly, it wouldn't be the worst idea in the world. The talent is there, but the consistency isn't, and at some point, that starts to bleed into team confidence. Roman Wilson's been another interesting case. You can see flashes from him, the kind of athleticism that makes you believe he could become a key piece. But then he'll make one of those rookie mistakes that drives coaches nuts, like trying to hurdle a defender instead of just securing the ball and keeping the chains moving. Those moments stick with coaching staffs a lot longer than fans realize. It's not just a whoops kind of mistake. It's a trust thing. And once you lose a little of that trust, it takes a long time to earn it back. And speaking of trust, there were a few moments in that game that really summed up where this offense is mentally. One play that stands out came when Kenny Gainwell didn't turn around in time for a pass, leading to an obvious miscommunication. You could literally see Rodgers' frustration boil over. He wasn't subtle about it either. Then you had Darnell Washington dropping what should have been an automatic touchdown near the goal line. Plays like that are killers. They take points off the board and momentum out of the team. Rodgers made it pretty clear afterward that he wasn't happy about it. His post-game comments hit the nail on the head. He said the play calling was fine, but the execution just wasn't there. That's about as honest as you'll ever hear him be in a press conference. He basically said, "We got to look in the mirror and play better on offense because that's not good enough, not in any phase." And he's right. The thing is, this isn't about nitpicking after a win. It's about recognizing that even though they got the job done, the margin for error is shrinking fast. The Steelers have been talking all season about stacking success, stacking performances, stacking wins, building momentum, but the offense hasn't quite joined that conversation yet. The defense can only carry them so far. If this team wants to climb to the level they keep talking about, if they really see themselves as contenders, they have to start producing consistent drives that don't rely on turnovers or short fields. They need to find that balance between grit and creativity because right now, it feels like they're grinding gears. What's wild is that all the pieces are there. You got a head coach in Mike Tomlin who knows how to keep a locker room focused. You got a veteran quarterback who's been through every kind of battle. You've got young talent on the rise and a defense that can punch anyone in the mouth. The foundation is solid, but the offense needs to catch up. Maybe it's the playbook. Maybe it's chemistry. Maybe it's just a mental block that'll fade once they finally have that breakout performance. Whatever it is, it's holding them back from being what they're capable of being. And now, with the Chargers waiting in Los Angeles, there's not a lot of time to figure it out. The line's banged up, with Isaac Sumalo dealing with that pec injury. And if he can't go, Spencer Anderson might get the call at left guard. The kid can play, no doubt about it, but that's still another shuffle in an offensive line that needs stability more than anything. Injuries happen, sure, but this group has to find a way to stay cohesive, because as we've seen, when protection breaks down, the whole operation follows. The Steelers won, yes, and that matters. But the bigger question is whether they're improving or just surviving. There's a difference. And for a team that keeps talking about building something bigger, about stacking those wins and leveling up each week, they got to show that growth on the offensive side of the ball. The defense has given them every chance to do it. Now it's time to see if the offense can meet them halfway. So let's move past the game itself and talk about what's next, because there's a lot swirling around this team right now. Trades, depth issues, and that ever-present question of what the Steelers should prioritize if they really want to make a run. And since the NFL trade deadline hits today, that conversation just got real. You can feel the buzz building, not just in Pittsburgh, but around the league. Teams are looking at their rosters and asking, are we contenders or pretenders? The Steelers are right in that middle space, winning, competing, but still clearly a few steps away from being the kind of team nobody wants to face in January. Let's start with the obvious question everyone's asking. Should the Steelers go after another wide receiver? It's tempting. The fan base is restless, and after seeing another quiet game from the wideout group, the idea of bringing in some fresh energy out wide sounds pretty good. But here's the thing. History tells us this team doesn't make flashy trades at the deadline. They're cautious, they value chemistry, and they've always believed in developing the guys they already have. And yet, this year feels a little different. The AFC is wide open. The defense is championship caliber, and the offense is just one or two reliable weapons away from becoming something much more dangerous. Still, if you ask around the organization, wide receiver isn't necessarily the top priority. It might be what fans want, but it's not what the front office seems to be losing sleep over. The internal conversations going on right now are a lot more focused on the offensive line. That might not sound exciting, but it's the truth. Because when you look at how this team wants to win, physical, controlling the line of scrimmage, wearing teams down, it all starts up front. If they can't protect Rodgers or open lanes for Warren in the backs, then it doesn't matter how many weapons they've got outside. And with Isaac Seumalo's injury potentially sidelining him, the urgency just went up another notch. You can't ignore how much of an impact good line depth has on the outcome of the season. Look at the last few Super Bowl champions. All of them had one thing in common. They stayed healthy in the trenches. Pittsburgh can't just hope that continues to be the case. Spencer Anderson has shown flashes, and he's a guy you can trust to plug in when needed. But once you move him into the starting lineup, you've suddenly created another hole on the bench. That sixth lineman role he's been handling quietly all season, somebody else has to take it, and right now, it's not clear who that would even be. That's why, if you ask me what move could make the biggest long-term impact, it's adding another quality lineman, specifically a tackle who can slide in when needed and keep Rodgers upright. It might not get fans jumping out of their seats, but it's the kind of move that stabilizes a roster for a playoff run. It's easy to dream about big-name receivers or flashy mid-season trades, but sometimes the smartest plays are the boring ones, the ones that strengthen the foundation so everything else can work better. Now, that doesn't mean the Steelers shouldn't explore upgrades elsewhere. Far from it. If a team calls and offers a solid deal for a proven WR2, you pick up the phone. But this idea that one player is suddenly going to turn this offense into a juggernaut, that's not realistic. What's holding this group back isn't just personnel, it's rhythm, execution, and maybe even confidence. Rodgers still looks like he's figuring out who he can truly rely on in tight moments. You could tell he trusts Freiermuth in the red zone. That connection's been money all year. But beyond that, it feels like everyone else is still fighting for that chemistry. You can see it in the hesitation on certain throws, in those missed reads where the timing is just half a second off. That's not about talent. That's about cohesion, and that takes reps, not trades. Speaking of new faces fitting in quickly, how about the way Kyle Duggar stepped in and played on defense? The guy just arrived, probably doesn't even know everyone's name yet, and there he was, taking nearly every snap, flying around like he'd been in this system for years. That kind of immediate contribution makes you rethink what's possible with mid-season trades. Maybe the old thinking that it's too hard to bring someone new into a complex playbook halfway through the year doesn't hold up anymore. The league is changing. Players are smarter, systems are more adaptable, and coaches are finding ways to plug guys in faster than ever. If Duggar can show up and grab a game ball in his first week, why can't an offensive addition do the same? But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The NFL rumor mill is already heating up, and it appears Pittsburgh might be at the center of the latest shakeup. Word on the street is that DK Metcalf, one of the league's most feared wide receivers, could be on his way out of the Steelers. Sources close to the situation suggest that behind closed doors, discussions have intensified over Metcalf's future in Pittsburgh, sparking whispers across locker rooms and social media alike. Since joining the Steelers, Metcalf has shown flashes of his trademark explosiveness, making defenders look foolish with his size and speed. Yet, there have been murmurs about chemistry and fit within Pittsburgh's offensive schemes. Some insiders speculate that the team might be considering a shift, potentially opening the door for a blockbuster trade. While nothing is confirmed, the possibility alone has fans buzzing. Adding fuel to the fire, rival teams are reportedly keeping a close eye on Metcalf, aware that landing a receiver of his caliber could instantly reshape a passing attack. Imagine a team like the Dolphins or the Cowboys swooping in. Metcalf's blend of athleticism and physicality would be an immediate game-changer anywhere he lands. For Pittsburgh, the move would be a gamble. Losing such a dynamic weapon could spark criticism from fans, Yet the team might see it as an opportunity to restructure or address other pressing needs. Social media is already ablaze. Speculative threads about potential destinations, trade packages, and quarterback pairings are trending. Analysts are debating whether Pittsburgh would seek multiple draft picks in return or a star player swap. Meanwhile, Metcalf himself has remained quiet, fueling the rumor mill even further. Some suggest that his silence might be a tactical move, while others believe it's simply a waiting game as the Steelers weigh their options. Whether this ends up being a headline-grabbing trade or just another off-season whisper, one thing is certain. The NFL world will be watching Pittsburgh closely. DK Metcalf is not a player you forget overnight, and if he does leave, it won't be quietly. The Steelers' decision could ripple across the league, affecting draft strategies, free agency moves, and even playoff projections. For now, the burble continues, with fans and pundits alike speculating which team will get the explosive talent that could redefine their season. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.